Spartacus was a Thracian gladiator who became the leader of the most significant slave uprising against the Roman Republic, known as the Third Servile War, 73-71 BCE. Originally a soldier, he was captured and sold into slavery, eventually trained as a gladiator in Capua. Along with a group of fellow gladiators, he escaped and formed a growing army of escaped slaves and discontented individuals. He led a series of successful battles against Roman legions, displaying remarkable strategic and tactical abilities. His forces roamed across Italy, defeating several Roman commanders and threatening the stability of the Republic. Although he initially sought to lead his followers out of Italy, internal divisions led many to continue raiding Roman territories. The Senate eventually appointed Marcus Crassus to suppress the rebellion, and after a prolonged campaign, Spartacus was ultimately defeated in 71 BCE. He is believed to have died in the final battle, though his body was never found. His legacy endures as a symbol of resistance and the fight for freedom against oppression. In 73 BCE, Spartacus, along with about 70 other gladiators, orchestrated a daring escape from a gladiator training school in Capua. Armed with makeshift weapons they seized from the kitchen and guards, they overpowered their captors and fled the facility. After escaping, they raided a convoy carrying gladiatorial weapons, arming themselves properly for battle. Seeking refuge on Mount Vesuvius, they established a defensive position and began attracting other escaped slaves and discontented individuals. Their numbers quickly grew, transforming a small band of fugitives into a formidable rebel force. The Roman authorities initially underestimated the uprising, sending a small militia to suppress them. But Spartacus and his men, using superior tactics and their knowledge of Roman combat, managed to defeat the force. This victory marked the beginning of the most significant slave rebellion in Roman history. After escaping and securing a base on Mount Vesuvius, Spartacus and his fellow fugitives began to attract large numbers of runaway slaves, destitute farmers, and others seeking freedom from Roman oppression. What started as a small group of gladiators quickly transformed into a growing army, numbering in the tens of thousands. Spartacus, along with two other leaders, Crassus and Eunomaus, organized the rebels into a structured force using their combat skills to train new recruits. They employed guerrilla tactics, ambushing Roman forces and seizing weapons, armor, and supplies. Their unexpected victories over Roman militias demonstrated their growing strength and encouraged more people to join. As the rebellion spread across southern Italy, the Senate realized that it was no longer a minor disturbance but a full-scale uprising that threatened the stability of the Republic. As the rebel army grew in size and strength, the Roman Senate, initially underestimating the uprising, sent a small force under the command of the praetor Gaius Claudius Glaber to crush the rebellion. Expecting an easy victory, Glaber and his militia of around 3,000 men laid siege to the rebels on Mount Vesuvius, hoping to starve them into submission. Spartacus, demonstrating tactical ingenuity, led his men in a daring escape by using vines to climb down the cliffs and attack the Romans from behind. Caught off guard, Glaber's forces were completely overwhelmed and defeated. News of this victory spread quickly, inspiring more slaves and disenfranchised people to join Spartacus's ranks. The Roman Senate, realizing the growing threat, sent additional forces, but they too were defeated in successive battles. The rebels continued to seize weapons and supplies, further strengthening their army. With each victory, Spartacus and his forces proved themselves to be a formidable challenge to Rome's military power. With a rapidly growing army, Spartacus led his forces on a series of raids across Italy, targeting Roman towns, estates, and military outposts. His army, now numbering tens of thousands, moved through the countryside, freeing enslaved people and gathering supplies. These raids not only provided essential provisions, but also spread fear among Roman elites, who saw their plantations and properties devastated. Spartacus' forces displayed remarkable mobility, using unconventional tactics to outmaneuver Roman legions. They defeated consular armies sent to stop them, including those led by Lucius Gellius and Gnaeus Cornelius Lentulus. Despite these victories, divisions began to emerge within the rebel ranks. While Spartacus sought to move north and escape Italy, a faction led by Crassus preferred to remain and continue pillaging Roman lands. This internal conflict weakened their overall strategy, though they continued to inflict heavy losses on Roman forces. The Senate, alarmed by the rebellion's persistence, realized that more drastic action was needed to end the uprising. After a series of victories against Roman forces, Spartacus planned to lead his army north toward the Alps, intending for his followers to disperse into their homelands and escape Roman rule. He and his forces moved through Italy, defeating consular legions sent to intercept them. Despite the opportunity to leave Italy, many of his followers, particularly the Gauls and Germans led by Crassus, preferred to stay and continue raiding Roman territories. This division weakened the rebellion's unity, and a portion of the army split off. Crassus and his followers were later defeated by Roman forces, further reducing the rebel strength. Spartacus, still determined to escape, pushed northward, but ultimately turned back, possibly because his forces were reluctant to leave, or because he realized that Rome would not allow them to escape unchallenged. This decision marked a turning point, as the rebellion shifted from a movement for freedom to a prolonged conflict against Rome, leading to harsher reprisals from the Republic. As the rebellion continued to destabilize Italy, the Roman Senate recognized the need for a more decisive response. They appointed Marcus Crassus, a wealthy and ambitious general, to lead the campaign against Spartacus. Crassus took command of 8 legions, totaling around 40,000 soldiers, and implemented strict discipline to restore order among his troops. He revived the harsh practice of decimation, executing every 10th soldier in units that had shown cowardice, to instill fear and obedience. Unlike previous Roman commanders, Crassus approached the war with careful strategy, constructing massive fortifications to contain the rebels in southern Italy. Spartacus attempted to break through the Roman lines, but Crassus's disciplined forces repelled these efforts. With his army now trapped and unable to secure an escape route, Spartacus prepared for the inevitable final confrontation with Rome. Meanwhile, the Senate also recalled Pompey and Lucullus from their campaigns, ensuring that Spartacus would face overwhelming military force. With his forces weakened and surrounded by Roman legions, Spartacus made a final, desperate attempt to break through. Crassus's army, refusing to surrender, he led his men into battle against the vastly superior Roman forces in Lucania. The rebels fought fiercely, but without proper armor or organized ranks, they were gradually overwhelmed. Spartacus himself is said to have fought with exceptional bravery, cutting down Roman soldiers as he attempted to reach Crassus directly. According to some accounts, he was wounded in the legs, but continued fighting on his knees until he was finally killed. However, his body was never definitively identified, adding to the mystery surrounding his fate. The battle ended in a decisive Roman victory, with most of the rebel army slaughtered. The surviving 6,000 rebels were captured and crucified along the Appian Way, serving as a brutal warning against future uprisings. Although the rebellion was crushed, Spartacus's legacy endured as a symbol of resistance against oppression. With Spartacus and his army defeated, Crassus sought to make an example of the surviving rebels. Around 6,000 captured slaves were crucified along the Appian Way, the main road leading to Rome, stretching from Capua to the capital. Their bodies were left hanging as a grim warning to any who might consider rising against the Republic. Unlike previous slave uprisings, there was no widespread retaliation against the general slave population, as Rome viewed the rebellion as an isolated event rather than a larger social movement. Crassus emerged as the undisputed victor, though his success was somewhat overshadowed when Pompey arrived with his army and claimed credit for ending the war by eliminating the last remnants of the fleeing rebels. Despite his brutal defeat, Spartacus became a legendary figure, later romanticized as a symbol of freedom and resistance against tyranny. His story continued to inspire political movements and cultural works for centuries to come.